All for One, arguably the most diabolical and dangerous villain in all of My Hero Academia, will ultimately be defeated by a bird. Oh yeah, that's correct. Tokoyami Fumikage will be the one to take down All for One. Before laying out how the Dark Hero Tsukuyomi and his Dark Shadow quirk will best All for One, it's important to understand how to defeat All for One. In the most recent chapter, My Hero Academia 354, Endeavor and Hawks engage All for One, and their plan to take him down is to destroy the mask he wears on his face. Since this is a respirator and All for One cannot live without it, if you smash it to pieces, you can permanently delete All for One. Recall that when All for One broke out of Tartarus, he was carrying this machine which was hooked up to his body and face mask. It's quite possible that the mask he wears now also provides other medical functions, much like Darth Vader's mask and suit does from Star Wars. We'll talk about how Tokoyami defeating All for One connects to Star Wars a bit later, but for now, Endeavor and Hawks' plan is a considerably easier strategy than trying to just overpower All for One with strength, and having to go up against almost every conceivable quirk in the universe. Hawks and Endeavor use a combination of their attacks to keep All for One on edge, using fire with feathers similar to how they fought the high-end Nomu. However, even with Endeavor and Hawks' plan, they failed to really get near All for One, and in a moment of distraction, while Endeavor's mind has wandered because of All for One's incessant taunting, the Demon King strikes Endeavor in the side with this new flesh quirk we saw revealed in the previous chapter. After injuring Endeavor and probably limiting him for the rest of this battle, All for One targets Hawks and nearly kills him until Tokoyami and Jiro swoop in to offer some Deus Machina for the winged hero. I won't geek out too much, but let's just appreciate this dynamic duo of Jiro riding Tokoyami and saving the day. It's quite clear that All for One needs to be on the ropes and almost overpowered by a tremendous force if the heroes are to defeat him. And this is where Tokoyami comes in. If there was ever one unstoppable force that the villains and perhaps most of the heroes couldn't handle and could give All for One a run for his money, it's Dark Shadow Anger Mode. Horikoshi is a known Star Wars fan, and All for One is of course a tribute to Darth Vader. And in Return of the Jedi, Luke actually has to tap into the power of the dark side of the Force just to gain enough strength in order to defeat Vader and the Emperor and ultimately save his father. If Tokoyami, Jiro, Endeavor, and Hawks are ever going to live to see another day after fighting All for One, Tokoyami must harness the power of his dark side to defeat All for One, just like how Luke did in order to defeat Vader. And this means unleashing Dark Shadow. Just like Vader's mask comes off at the end of the movie and he ultimately passes away, Tokoyami will score a finishing blow and All for One will succumb to his ruined, ravaged body once this fancy headpiece is destroyed. Now the only question becomes, how does one unleash Dark Shadow? Hawks could sustain an injury during this fight, and Tokoyami, at the sight of his old teacher suffering against All for One, could find within him the anger, the righteous indignation needed to unleash the full power of Dark Shadow. I believe that through his training, Tokoyami has found a way to control Dark Shadow's beast mode even in the daylight. This is of course necessary, especially when you're going up against All for One, who we saw in the last chapter now has a fire quirk. And in terms of emotions, Tokoyami basically saw Hawks almost die at the hands of Dabi and maintained his composure enough to save his mentor. So I do think Tokoyami may actually need to bring out Dark Shadow beast mode all by himself. Even if Tokoyami does lose control, Endeavor can always use his flames to control and direct Dark Shadow when it's rampaging in order to kind of steer Tokoyami towards All for One and go in for the kill on All for One's face. This would be similar to how Bakugo and Todoroki used little explosions and little flames to calm down Tokoyami and Dark Shadow during the forest training camp arc. Besides raw strength, Dark Shadow's resistance is also key in defeating All for One. Already in this battle, All for One was able to injure Endeavor and almost took out Hawks, so the heroes need a way to not only cut through All for One's powerful quirks, particularly his air blasts, which Endeavor's fire and Hawks' feathers and speed should allow them to do, but also, they need a good defense. Tokoyami cannot afford to take a hit like Endeavor did if he's going to smash All for One's face in and break his mask. When Tokoyami lost control of Dark Shadow in the forest training camp arc, the villain Moonfish launched his teeth and pierced through Dark Shadow during the rampage. To which Dark Shadow laughed and even taunted the villain and absolutely destroyed Moonfish by crushing metal and ripping out his teeth. I almost wonder at this point if Dark Shadow can actually become invulnerable to physical matter and other quirks like Moonfish's teeth, because they go right through him.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
With this tolerance for punishment, Tokoyami and Dark Shadow can withstand any surprise quirks All For One can hit them with, such as this flesh blade one Endeavor was injured by, as well as others like All For One's signature black and red barbs. So Tokoyami Fumikage, with the incredible dark side power and durability of Dark Shadow, has the ability to overpower All For One and destroy his face mask, thus ending the villain king's reign. Rest assured, Tokoyami and the others will not mourn All For One like Luke does his father, and there's certainly no redemption for All For One. Do you think All For One will be defeated by Best Bird Boy? Let me know your comments down below, love to hear your theories. How can Jiro, Tokoyami, Endeavor, and Hawks finally defeat the villain king? And is there anything I'm missing from Tokoyami and Dark Shadow's ability? Let me know. And until next time, Plus Ultra.